Good morning, and thank you for joining us for a presentation on FortiManager and its integration with the Secure Access product line. My name is Soraya Tati, and presenting today is Secure Access Engineer Lou Giannicarelli. Lou and I are part of an overlay team here at Fortinet supporting the switch, access points, and 3G, 4G backup technologies. We do have a lot to cover today, so we'll be responding to your questions in the chat window. If we do not address your question during this session, we'll be following up by email. This webinar will be recorded and sent as a follow-up, and we'll also include a link to previously recorded sessions. Our next webinar will be on May 20th, where we will review the best practices for our FortiAP and FortiSwitch. If you're wanting to learn more about the Secure Access product line, please reach out to me or your local Fortinet rep. And thank you again for your time this morning. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lou to kick things off.
All right. Well, thanks, Soraya. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in this wonderful globe of ours. As Soraya mentioned, I'm a systems engineer here at Fortinet, focused on our SWAT products, which stands for our Secure Wireless and Access Technologies. I want to be talking today about how those products interact with our FortiManager and our FortiAnalyzer products. So without further ado, let's just jump right into things. All right, so let's start with our an overview of our security fabric, right? So our security fabric, as you may know, allows all Fortinet products to interact with each other, right? It provides a full protection across the entire digital infrastructure. The network at the core of the fabric enables multiple network security use cases, including enterprise level next generation firewall, internal segmentation firewalls, and SD-WAN. The Fabric Management Center provides that single pane of glass, simplifying operations and enabling automation of workflows. Right, so complete visibility and control of all traffic and threats at every point of the attack surface, from the edge to the core, and in hybrid and multi-cloud environments. So it's an AI-driven breach prevention, provides automated operations, orchestration, and response. Just kind of click through here, my presentation responding here. So you can see the components of the Fabric Management Center over on the left-hand side are comprised of our FortiManager as well as our FortiAnalyzer products. So those combined are what we're referring to as our Fabric Management Center. All right. So, the key component number one is simplified provisioning, right? So easy deployment. So whether or not you're just managing a single device or tens of thousands of devices, the idea is to improve the efficiency in operations and leveraging the existing networking and operations staff, right? So very easily affords you the ability to provision single or hundreds of devices, whether it be SD-WAN focused, firewall security focused, or any of the security fabric components. Specifically what our team is focused on are the secure wireless and access technologies, so our APs, our switches, and our FortiExtenders. From a centralized management perspective, it really allows you to easily scale your operations. So reduce point products by leveraging a single console across multiple use cases, right? So again, scaling to hundreds of thousands of FortiGates, managing all the components that you're familiar with that Fortinet offers today. And then what's really ultimately going to give you is that those real-time network insights and statistics analytics about the various different components in your network. All right, so you're going to get health visibility, service level agreement reporting, historical reporting capabilities, application usage and reports, response handlers. This is really all the beauty of the solution. And then from a compliance standpoint, you're going to get multiple different types of reports focused on various different key features, PCI compliance, multi-factor authentication, integration with third-party tools, just to name a few. And then again, what the tool affords you the ability, to gain is automation in the network. So integrating workflows, so being able to respond to threats as they emerge on the network, being able to quickly react, integrating with other SDN capable products out there, integrating with public cloud components. We've introduced some new integration with ServiceNow, RESTful APIs. Development tools such as Ansible and Terraform are all now key third-party components that we can leverage on our networks. So I'm going to jump into now real quickly some of the new components that the Fabric Management Center has been introduced with the 6.4 version. The most notable, you can kind of see in the box over on the right-hand side, is the introduction of management extensions. So we now are allowing the FortiManager to host Dockers. So one of the key ones that we're going to focus on today is the Forti Wireless Manager Docker that we've now integrated into the FortiManager platform. So that traditionally has been a standalone product, but now having the ability to bring that into, again, that single pane of glass management console that FortiManager represents. So we'll take a peek at that when we get into the demonstration portion, but I think we'll like what you see there. And then adding additional Fabric visibility. So we say that all of our products participate in the Fabric. So this is going to give you real-time views into actually how those components all interact, similar to the views that you're familiar with on the FortiGate themselves, but again from the larger organization standpoint. So that you can see, all the different components from multiple different sites. Of course, this leverages the FortiAnalyzer to help us build those topology views. We'll take a peek at those as we get going. Some additional analytics built around SD-WAN, not specifically a SWAT product, but having the software-defined wide area networking capabilities is one of the key components that Fortinet affords our customers. So FortiManager is going to give you some new reporting and analytics around those features. And additional SD-WAN reports are also available. And then some improvements from a high availability and load sharing capability. So if you have a very large environment and you're handling thousands or tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of devices, the more FortiAnalyzers and FortiManagers that you have working together to sharing the load of pushing out mass changes or bulk changes is really going to be significantly improved when you start introducing multiple slaves, if you will, working in conjunction. So you can see 65% time savings, really cranking it down from a 51-minute to push out configs down to under 20 minutes in large environments. We've also introduced a bunch of new Fabric connectors, right? So a lot of third-party integration work has been done with various different partners. You can see just a handful here, and some of the newer flags that we've now introduced, some of our new FortiMac capabilities, our EMS functionalities, vCenter integration now, several others been introduced in the 6.4 updates. Here's some new exciting zero-touch provisioning capabilities. We've added in some new template support for onboarding your devices, so you don't have to manually import various different FortiGates across the globe. We have now the ability to allow those gates to phone home and automatically be registered with our FortiManagers. Slides are progressing slowly, apologies. Similarly, from an incident analysis perspective, some historical scans that we've now introduced as part of the 6.4 FortiManager platform. So you can now go back in time to identify anomalies that may have happened across the environment, leveraging the latest threat intel from the FortiGuard labs. So you can define the last, X number of days for the indicators of compromise, historical scans, and see what may have happened, in the past. Okay, and then again, from an incident containment perspective, giving you the ability to introduce new event handlers from FortiAnalyzer side to leverage what we're calling triggers on the FortiGate to fire off automated responses. So, for example, if a device is deemed as compromised or perhaps infected with a virus, we can automatically have the FortiGate quarantine those types of devices and protect them, or protect the rest of the network from further infection. So a lot of that automation work has been optimized in the FortiManager 6.4 platform. Giving you some new insights from a security rating standpoint to make sure that your gates are as up to date and in compliance as is possible. So give me some insights there. And then finally, some new integration with both FortiManager and FortiAnalyzer with the ServiceNow platform. So just keeping everything up to date and helping your IT teams respond quickly and triage any potential any responses that may be needed to respond to these types of incidents. So automating that workflow. So those are some of the highlights that we've introduced on the 6.4 FortiManager and FortiAnalyzer side. Now I want to kind of actually jump off out of the presentation, which is probably putting folks to sleep. So hopefully you're all still awake and with me out there. And we'll actually get into a live demonstration and look into some of the new features and dashboards that we've introduced on the 6.4 side. So let me just lower this screen here and bring up my web browser. It's over here. Okay, so I'm going to be working on a couple of different lab systems, and of course they timed out while I was talking, so let me just quickly log back into these. Okay, so this is a local system that I have here in my home lab. I'm going to be bouncing back between that one and then one that I have out in our lab at headquarters. So let me just get logged into both of these real quick. Okay, we'll get logged in here. So first thing you may have noticed if you were paying attention there, the differences, the different views that you may see between different FortiManager instances. As you may or may not be aware, FortiManager has the ability to turn on the FortiAnalyzer functionality directly within its console. So you can see that it's actually turned off here. On the FortiAnalyzer features are actually turned off, whereas in my my lab system, I've had them turned on. So the FortiAnalyzer widgets, if you will, from a single pane of glass management perspective, can be merged into that, again, that single pane of glass, so that you don't have to bounce between multiple different sites. So we'll start off looking at some new improvements that we've made on the 6.4 interface. Again, we'll take a peek at the new management extension repository and look at the FortiWireless Manager. We'll dig deeper into the AP Manager and FortiSwitch Manager components of FortiManager, as those are the SWAT specific products. And then we'll take a peek at the new Fabric View widget that we've introduced. and that might take up the rest of our time. So let's, without further ado, we'll jump in very quickly. So I have a couple of FortiGates being managed by this platform. So one of the products in the SWAT portfolio is our FortiExtender. This is our 3G, 4G LAN extension router, if you will. So you have the ability now to view information about our 3G, 4G extenders. This one happens to be connected to my gate, being managed by my gate, and I can create all the different configuration rules directly from this platform. I can get a view into the status of my Forti extender, see that it's actually connected up to the AT&T network. It's online and passing traffic. We've got 200 some odd megs already gone through this morning. You have the ability to upgrade the platform, push out new versions of firmware. This one happens to be updated, but if it were running older version of code, I could have been offered specific builds to push out to it automatically. So the extender, again, is one of the key components of the SWAT portfolio, and it can be managed directly from FortiManager. Now, everything we do from a configuration perspective in FortiManager is done via provisioning templates. So provisioning templates can be customized on a per location basis or for all of your sites. And it gives you all the basics, basic configuration components that you can push out and assign to the devices in your organization. So if I want to make any changes here, it's very easy to select different FortiGates to have these parameters pushed out to. Similarly, licensing and firmware can all be upgraded. We can review release notes, various different capabilities on that front. But from a SWAT perspective, that's probably the only major newsworthy item for our discussion today. We'll jump right into the fabric view, which is a new widget that we've introduced on FortiManager. So you can see here, it quickly builds out the interconnectivity view of all different components operating in this particular off of this particular FortiGate. So you can see the topology view, all my various different other gates that are participating in the security fabric. I have a few switches, a few access points, and several different devices kind of shown up in the bubble view from my top talker's perspective. And there's various different views that you can look at: device count, vulnerabilities. You can change to packets or bandwidth or sessions, depending on whatever particular data point you may be interested in. And we also give you the logical topology view. So it's going to show you a little bit more accurately how things are interconnected, what VLANs, what SSIDs devices are associated to, and whatnot. So a nice view of your networks from again that central repository. And these can be, all these gates can be located anywhere in the world. And you're going to get a very granular understanding of how things are interconnected in those environments. In those fabric connectors, I mentioned them in the slides. I only have a single one set up here, but we have dozens of different third-party components that we can interact with, whether it be public, cloud-based components, private networking components, other Fortinet products. There's this new ServiceNow widget that we've introduced. So these are things that you can leverage now as part of 6.4. Then getting a security rating, something that's been introduced as part of 6.4. So giving you helpful hints and where you may be most compliant or out of compliance. You see, I have one critical alarm on my system here, several high alarms, some medium alarms, and mostly pass. So basically, gives you a grade or a score. So higher the higher number, the more in compliance you may be. And it goes through various different dependencies of what could possibly be tweaked to improve your score. So if I were to turn off my USB firmware provisioning functionality, I'd gain myself around 90 points or so across the network. This gives you a nice way to keep yourselves in compliance and understand where you may improve on your security posture. Again, gives you a view into the number of users on your network, what endpoints are involved, and the various different assets that are involved. So this is the whole security fabric view. So something you can look forward to and play with once you get yourselves upgraded to 6.4. Now moving into something near and dear to our team, we can start off with the switching components. So again, everything that we do is provisioned through templates. You can see I had the 2 gates that were already discovered. So you can see that I have, there's 4 switches that happen to be automatically discovered as managed switches. They're all, of course, online here. I don't have any waiting to be authorized, and I don't have any down in this particular location. But it does give you a view of the switches that are currently online. You can very easily get in here and make configuration changes, upgrade operating system, FortiSwitch operating system, if necessary. From our monitor screen here, as it loads, bear with me, it's going to show you the interconnectivity of the switches in this particular location and give you a sense of what ports are up, what ports are down, and of course the interconnections between them. And then on the switch template front, so as we make changes to our switches, to create VLANs, you just kind of one-click walk through the wizard itself, turn on your administrative access roles, whether or not you're going to have a DHCP server defined to this particular VLAN served from the gate itself, whether or not you want the gate to detect devices, introduce captive portal functionality for devices to get plugged into these VLANs or bridged to these VLANs from a wireless perspective. So all of that can be controlled and set up right here in your VLAN section. Same thing on the security policy side. Whether or not we're going to allow or utilize 802.1x, for example, on our wired ports. Whether or not you're going to afford MAC-based access control. You're going to enable guest LAN functionality, authentication VLANs. You're going to support EAT pass-through, right? So this is a way to configure all of the ports on your switches with a standard security policy, and gives you a little bit more flexibility as far as rolling out switches more quickly and easily. You don't have to worry about statically assigning VLANs to individual ports. You're going to build the intelligence into the network, and as you plug in devices, the network will have the awareness of whether it's a printer or whether it's a corporate-owned device, and automatically assign VLANs and privileges and policies and access control accordingly. Our switches, of course, support LLDP, so we can automatically, recognize IP phones, for example, and drop them into the appropriate VLANs and afford the appropriate amount of power, just as an example. Same thing on the quality of service front, being able to implement differentiation between application type, prioritize different apps. All these different functionalities can be managed through our switch templates, and then assigning switch templates to devices becomes to FortiGates becomes very simple. Just a matter of walking through the wizard and applying them out accordingly. So that's the switch management area. Not a ton has changed over the past, except that we've introduced a little bit more flexibility when it comes to quickly assigning VLANs to ports. In the past, you had to statically click in here and assign a individual VLAN on a port by port basis. We've now introduced the ability to do multi-click selections and assigning a particular VLAN to multiple interfaces all at once. So very quickly you can ramp out and assign out the appropriate VLANs and allowed VLANs to your switchboards. So that's one of the new improvements that they've made on the FortiManager side of the house. Switching back into the AP Manager view, you can again see on a per gate basis all of the access points that have automatically been discovered and imported into the FortiManager view. So you can see here in my on my 61E here in the basement, I have 8 managed APs, 7 of which are online. 1 is offline. I don't have any unauthorized. Give me a view into the number of rogue APs that have been detected and the number of clients that are currently online. So this is a quick down and dirty view of what's happening. And again, you can double click into any one of these, assign them to a particular AP profile, which we'll talk about in a moment. I can see what gates that they're associated to. Switch over into the monitor view. It's going to give you an idea of all the various different clients that are currently associated to the APs in this particular location. Give you some charts on the health of the clients that are associated, right? So it's going to give you how long the APs have been up. I had to do a reboot this morning, so you'll notice we got a big yellow bar here because I had a majority of my APs have only been up for less than 24 hours. Normally that would be a long green bar. Again, client count over time, sources of interference, right? So we can see those rogues that may be potentially interfering with our operating channels. Clients on the 2.4 band, same thing, clients on the 5 gigahertz band, and potential interference sources from the 5 gigahertz side of the house. We've made some improvements on the map view as well. There were some slowness, if you will, in past versions of the map view. You can see here I'm located on the East Coast, and I have those 8 APs that are currently with 1 down and 7 online. You see it's going to show me those, again, those green 7 lights, the 7 green lights, if you will, and the 1 amber. And then very quickly, I can just kind of scroll down and see the various different client count statistics of any one particular access point. I got 7 there, I got 1 there, a few more down here. And I can drill down and understand exactly what devices are associated to this particular access point. If I needed to, I can show where this AP is located on my floor plans. So I have the ability to bring in from the map view. You see there's both the Google map, the geographical view, or the individual floor maps for a particular building. You can drill down into these maps, drag and drop your APs from the edit view, drag and drop them onto a floor plan very easily. And then as clients are associated, you'll get that view. So I'm not going to save that change. We just wanted to give you a sense of that capability. So a nice map view from both a global perspective and individual floor plans. And then on the Wi-Fi profile front, this is again how we can configure our access points so that as they come online, we can push these profiles out to them. You'll see that we only display the profiles for the model access points that have been discovered. You can, if you wanted to, see all profiles, so all the various different AP models that we currently offer. They're all in there. But for ease of configuration and management, we're just going to show you the APs that you happen to have that have been discovered. And you can drill down into any one of these APs, and you can turn on the various different radio operating modes. This happens to be one of our new 11AX 3 radio access points. So this is the Wi-Fi 6 capable universal series access point. So you can see that this actually has 3 different radios. All 3 radios can be servicing clients, which is a little bit unique in the industry. A lot of vendors are offering 3 radio APs, where only 2 radios can service clients, and the 3rd radio acts as a monitor, dedicated monitor radio. Our APs can be, all 3 can be acting in the client servicing mode. You can get in here and change various different configuration capabilities, whether or not you're going to turn on a WIDS profile, if you want to do radio resource provisioning, right? Do that dynamic channel planning, band steering your clients to the 5 gigahertz side of the house with our frequency handoff capabilities, choosing what band your clients are going to be supported or the radios are going to support. So all of the typical radio and AP configuration components are again available through the Wi-Fi profiles themselves. SSIDs can all be configured on the fly here. Just walk through an example of creating an SSID. Bear with me here. Oh, my UPS just beeped. Soraya, you can still hear me, correct?
I can hear you.
I just had a power issue here a second ago, so I may have lost connectivity. So apologies about that. Let me see if I can jump into another system.
And thank you everybody for submitting your questions in the chat window. Again, if we are unable to address your question now, we will be sending a follow-up email with the answer. And if any of these topics are piquing your interest and you want to learn more, I'll go ahead and put my email address in the chat for everybody. Just shoot me an email and we can work to schedule a time to do a deeper dive.
Okay, apologize about that, folks. So I just jumped into the FortiManager system in our lab with the same kind of concept. There's only a single gate being managed here. On the Wi-Fi profile side of the house, creating SSIDs is just simply as, connect new. One of the unique things about Fortinet is when our access points operate in tunnel mode, they actually become an interface on your FortiGate from a firewall policy perspective. So that's how we can control traffic and do the traffic inspection, SSL inspection, the application control functionality, all through firewall policies. And we apply those firewall policies to interfaces on the FortiGate. Well, with a tunnel-based SSID, that SSID itself actually becomes an interface. So the gate here you can see is acting as the DHCP server for clients that associate. We're enabling a few administrative access privileges. Here's our DHCP range. So as clients associate to this LG tunnel SSID, we support all the security modes. WPA2, WPA3 has now been introduced recently. You can configure your SSID accordingly. This one happens to be using a pre-shared key. You can introduce client limits. We can utilize multiple pre-shared keys for those users or those customers that don't have an 802.1x infrastructure in place to authenticate users. We can use multiple pre-shared key functionality so that you can assign each user or each device class, if you will, like an Internet of Things, thermometers or thermostats, if you will, or various different IoT type devices that aren't .1x capable. They can be afforded a different unique pre-shared key. So everything that you would expect on the wireless side can be configured directly from the FortiManager interface, again assigned out to the access points as they're discovered. Same thing on our WIDS profiles. We're going to recognize all the top intrusion detection type, Wi-Fi hacks that exist out there, man-in-the-middle attacks, whatnot. We got the ability to control all those, detecting rogue APs, enabling background scans, whatnot. We do support Bluetooth on most of the newer access points, 802.11ac Wave 2 and beyond. Pretty much all support the Bluetooth radio. So that if you have a BLE enabled smartphone, as you roam throughout the environment, your application can be aware that it is within proximity of a Bluetooth beacon that's built into the AP, and you can pop up different messages and whatnot. So that Bluetooth functionality is built into most of the newer APs. Same thing from a quality of service perspective. We have the ability to prioritize different applications. On the Bonjour side, for example, if you're using things like AirPrint printers, the Bonjour protocol is not meant to be a routed protocol. So in order to have users on one SSID or one VLAN print to printers that are on a different SSID or a different VLAN, you have to enable some sort of a Bonjour gateway functionality. So you can see here that I have one implemented as part of this profile, that all users from VLAN 10 can gain access to all other VLANs using the printer service, and there are various different Bonjour protocol-based services that we can assign to those policies. So all that's built into the AP Manager itself. Again, the AP Manager is going to take care of all of your wireless needs out in your remote locations, or even at your headquarters. All right, now let's get back into the top page itself. We'll take a look at one of the new Dockers themselves. So this is the new Wireless Manager. This traditionally had been a standalone appliance or virtual machine. It's now been turned into a Docker container here running on FortiManager. So we'll take a quick peek into here. Now this platform is designed to pull all of the FortiGates in your environment and give you that network health view and insight from statistic gathering and perspective for all the access points and all of the FortiGates that are being managed by the FortiManager across your environments. So you can see here that 85% of the access points are in compliance. We'll give you this quick network health dashboard, and from a in compliance perspective, we're defining that as APs whose loss percent is more than 40%, or retry percentage is more than 40%. So these can be customizable filters, so that if you change the measurement criteria, then the widget's going to reflect that accordingly. Same thing on the station front. These are all configurable components. So whether or not you're interested in looking at airtime fairness, loss percentage, retries, or SNR, we can give you a quick view of the health of those different stations in the environment. And again, similarly from a security standpoint, it's going to show you that APs detecting rogues that may be potentially interfering with our operating environment. And sometimes you can't help that because Wi-Fi is an unlicensed spectrum, so everybody has the rights to use it. Sometimes they can interfere with our networks. So the first pop-up you get there is the network health dashboard. And then from a network summary perspective, it's going to give you your dashboard here that rolls up alarms, number of controllers that are being managed, those that are online, inactive, and up. So I have the 8 controllers that are being managed here, 2 are offline, and 3 are inactive. Same thing on the access point side. I have 27 total APs that are being monitored by this wireless manager, 3 of which are offline, and there's only 37 stations. So this is kind of a small network that we're peeking at today, just one of our lab systems. But just in the lab system alone, we're detecting 65 different wireless or potentially interfering access points. Again, all the dashboards here can be customized. you'll see I only have one AP that's operating in a low signal with low signal stations. So whether or not these are phones that are in somebody's pocket or whatever it may be, there's only one kind of reflecting whatever criteria we've set up top. So these can all be, again, customized accordingly. And as you adjust your thresholds, you're going to have different outcomes on the dashboards. So again, we've introduced RF and operating system type widgets and statistics. You can see that the majority of my clients are 11AC capable. I have a few N devices and a few 5 gig of N devices operating on the 5 gigahertz side of the house. We give a breakdown of iOS, Windows, various different operating systems, so I can get some statistics about the types of devices, tvOS, high loss stations, recent activity. We don't have application control turned on in this particular environment, but if I did, I would see the top applications in use on these APs. So that's just going to be the quick network summary view. I can drill down into groups of APs and get statistics again on groups of APs, whether they be location-based or however you happen to group your APs. You can group them geographically or per site, per location, per floor, whatever makes sense. This is going to give you a drill down widgets on a particular access point. So this one's located in the media closet. It's online. There's a serial number and whatnot. It's going to give you a noise level, throughput capabilities, the stations over time, any different alarms that may have crept into our networks, right? So rogues being detected, that would be classified as alarm. Scroll down farther here, going to get a sense of the types of stations that are associated to this individual AP, right? So I got three operating on the 2.4 band and 8 over there on the 5 gigahertz. You can see the breakdown from an operating standpoint. Looks like the majority of devices here are iOS devices. And if I want to actually drill down into an individual client to see what was actually happening there, I have that ability as well. So now the ability to actually drill down into the actual station itself, or any events associated with that would be notified. You can see it's operating on channel 116. RSSI is pretty good, meg 60. Getting about 1.6 megs of throughput today, right now. The SNR is fairly strong. So just a nice dashboard view of an individual station, right? So I can be anywhere in the globe, managing any one of my locations, and have the ability to drill down, from a very high level down to the individual clients and our stations themselves. Similarly, if I had application control turned on, which we don't in this particular lab, I would get a view of all the different applications. I have the ability to add in heat maps, so I can get a sense of what the RF coverage is going to be throughout all of my facilities, and then some operational tools where you can manually configure additional gates to be controlled by this wireless LAN manager, to report their statistics into this wireless LAN manager. Again, different views of the APs throughout throughout my managed network. And again, you have the ability to group those APs and drill down into additional statistics. So it's really just kind of a nice day-to-day management tool that you can drill in. So on the FortiManager side, you can push out all your configurations very easily from the FortiManager AP manager, and then from gathering statistics and operational, day-to-day, responding to troubleshooting, or clients are complaining about poor performance or whatever they may be, or if new APs are coming online that are interfering with your existing operating environment, you very easily and quickly be able to detect those different scenarios with the wireless LAN manager. So that kind of quickly wraps up the formal presentation here. We do have about 10 minutes left if we want to dig into any open
you could, buy its own separate appliance or its own VM. So you can purchase those same licenses. Those are on the price list. They're the WLM is licensed by the number of APs that you need to have under management, and the minimum number of AP licenses that you can buy in a block is 50. And I think you can buy like 250 and 1,000 AP instances as well.
And in the Docker instance does come with a three AP license with it. So if you just want to kick the tires, we can start with a small site that has just 1, 2, or 3 APs, and you'll have the full functionality out of the box.
All right, yeah, and someone asked what options does a customer have for WLM features if they do not have a FortiManager? I think I answered that in the last one. So you can purchase it as just a standalone appliance or VM and stand it up on its own. You do not need FortiManager.
Yeah, that they're managing or acting as the wireless LAN controller, or our dedicated FortiWLC, which is our standalone wireless LAN controller. So the standalone WLM can manage both platforms, whereas the Docker is more focused on the FortiGate managed APs.
All right. Someone asked what version of FortiGate is needed to work with FortiManager 6.4. So one of the things with FortiManager is you've got the version of the FortiManager itself. So that could be 6.4, for instance. And then within the FortiManager, you might have multiple administrative domains that, and each one of those ADOMs could have however many FortiGates you need in that ADOM. And each one of those ADOMs can be on previous versions to what the FortiManager itself is on. So it's possible to have a 6.0 ADOM within a 6.4 FortiManager, and that 6.0 ADOM would run all of your FortiGates that are on 6.0. And then you might have another subset of FortiGates that are on 6.2. You'd have another separate 6.2 ADOM to manage those 6.2 FortiGates. I believe, and someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the minimum version for 6.4, the minimum ADOM version that you can have is 6.0. So if you had 5.6 or 5.4 FortiGates out there, those would not be compatible with 6.4 FortiManager.
I believe that's correct.
All right. So I guess we can go ahead and give everybody back 3 minutes. What we will do for those remaining questions that we did not answer, we'll be following up by email. And just as a reminder, this session was recorded, and we'll send out a recording later this week in a follow-up email. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, everybody, for participating in this week's session. And we will talk soon. Take care.
Thanks, team.